if a situation arises that you were unprepared.
Hey, we're on the wrong one.
Ooh, whoops.
Yeah, we're on the wrong one. I'm going to try this again.
Have you ever wondered what was out there in the night sky? Stared up at the stars in the hopes of seeing something out of the ordinary? Have you ever heard unexplainable noises coming from a vacant room, or watched a shadow cross the wall in front of you? Have you asked yourself if there's life after this one, or if you had life before? What about strange creatures that are mythical and elusive? Have you experienced deja vu, or felt a prompting to leave because you felt you were in danger? What if tomorrow you were on the fringe? Welcome to On the Fringe. I'm Philip.
And I'm Mark.
And again, we've got our we'll just say it, co-hosts, Pam and Jess. We'll have to let them introduce themselves from now on.
What? I like being introduced. You're going to make us work?
Well,
you need no introductions.
I know it.
There you go.
I mean, you guys put the intelligence in the show. I mean, we're just the gents, I guess. and that's loose. That's loosely.
No.
But real quick, I'm going to play our ad for our.
Hey, this is Mark with What If Tomorrow and What If Tomorrow on the Fringe. Be sure to check out our website, whatiftomorrowmedia.com, and look at our cool merch. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, posters, and more. Our affiliates are Duke Cannon, EMP Shield, My Patriot Supply, and Conflicted the Game. Or check out buymeacoffee.com/whatiftomorrow and buy us a coffee. And as always, be sure to like, comment, and share on both Facebook and YouTube. It helps get our content out to others and help our channel grow. Now on with the show.
Man, Mark, I am so glad that you did that.
It doesn't sound dumb, you don't think?
No, I like it. It
Okay,
takes so much. I don't have to think as much now.
Yeah, thinking is totally overrated.
It is, absolutely.
Just ask the government. That's
for sure. Enzo, man, he said take two already. He's already in it, making fun of us. Oh man, there's Joe. What's up, buddy? Speaking of Joe, I was going to key this up later, but he's here, so I'm going to plug them, man. They're coming back. The guys are back, soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it real quick. Let me get her going here. I got to plug it. I love the video you guys did, man. It's so funny. It's great. Can you guys hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you going? I don't know. At home. See the ball? See the ball? Come on.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, then Chad Smurth sighting, man. I'm excited. I mean, missed you guys. I think Joe. I think last time you guys had a show was before the family reunion. Speaking of, yeah, I think that was it. But yeah, tonight. I mean, we've got a kind of a weird show. It started out. It was going to be a totally different topic.
and I can't remember what the topic was. Mark, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'll save it for later. It's still a good topic.
Oh, we're going to do the Silurian hypothesis. What we're going to look at, and then Mark texted me. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And yeah, he said it was for the reunion, and Mark texted me, said, man, a lot of this stuff's popping up about the Secret Space Force. I know we've done one here a long time ago, and we kind of, I think we did it with Ben and Joe, as a matter of fact, but we did, we went down a rabbit holes like we did. So we figured, heck with it. We'll do it again. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. We got Pam and Jess here bringing the intelligence. Hopefully they can add more to the conversation than what they said at the beginning. So anyway,
Short notice.
we're gonna.
Short notice.
What's that? Yeah, it was short
Short
notice. I mean,
notice.
Mark.
It was. I'm a bad man. I'm sorry.
So if you see us down here scanning with highlighters, yeah, it's real.
Yeah. For all those watching,
Struggle is
it
real.
was. I asked this morning, so
No dinos.
But Enzo said, "What? No dinos? Yeah, we're gonna get to it. I think it's just this popped up, and we're like, let's run with it, man." I would agree 100%. Said Pam and notebooks are the brains of the operation. Yes.
This is true.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
But anyway,
Yeah.
in 2002, an IT expert, I think English, Scottish, I can't remember exactly
It's English,
100%.
Gary McKinnon.
Gary McKinnon.
So maybe Scottish.
Yeah, I want to say I think I've read both. He started diving into it's posted up here. I got to find it real quick. You can see how prepared I was. He gained access to NASA computers using a hacking software. And basically what he went in to look for was anybody that had their password as password or nothing password protected. Now mind you, this was 2002. So a lot of people, passwords weren't a huge thing.
Yeah, nobody was worried about security on their computers, and so they were
Right.
just open. It
But
really
he
wasn't
said-
hacking. I could have done that.
Right. But he ran across some information, and he found an Excel spreadsheet that said, quote, non-terrestrial officers.
Yeah, and a
Now,
Navy
did that
database.
mean? Yeah, it was in the Navy database in the Pentagon. I mean, this guy got all the way through, and apparently he didn't try very hard. But all the ships that came up were USS, but he did a database search for all the named ships in the United States Navy. Steve, he said, I call bullshit on Mark pre-hacking hacking. But
Be surprised.
and so he said, wow, all your passwords are asterisks too. But when he started digging and tried to cross-reference with all the known Navy ships, he couldn't find the names in the registry. And then further digging, I guess you should say. I'm trying to kind of go on the fly here. But he found photographs of possible, your traditional cigar-shaped objects, things like that. So he's like, man, am I onto something here? I don't know. I mean, he found the program name, which was Solar Warden. And from there, it just kind of blew up, man. He got into some serious trouble. They tried to extradite him and then tried him, which finally cleared up like 10 years later. He got released because he thought he was being ethical about it and finding weaknesses. And he notified the Pentagon that, hey, you guys are weak here. People can get into this. But on the other note, he released this information. And there's so much more to it. He's able to get the top secret documents. Yeah, they said he faced up to 60 years behind bars. Theresa May, the UK's Home Secretary, I'm quoting from an article from WeLiveSecurity.com, said that he would not be sent to the U.S., justifying the decision on human rights grounds because he has Asperger's syndrome and suffers from depressive illness. And that's a quote. The legal question before me is now whether the extent of that illness is sufficient to preclude extradition. Yeah, and he didn't get extradited. It says, after careful consideration of all the relevant material, I've concluded that Mr. McKinnon's extradition would give rise to such a high risk of him ending his life that a decision to extradite would be incompatible with Mr. McKinnon's human rights. So he didn't get extradited, but like I said, it cleared up around 2012. But here's some steps of what he did. This is off Yahoo News. He said, but I scanned and looked for documents. I found an Excel spreadsheet which said non-terrestrial officers. We've already covered that. It said it had ranks and names and had tabs for material transfer between ships. I took that to be that they must have ships in space. The name started with USS. Mr. McKinnon managed to gain access to the computers for several months without detection and caught sight of an image that he believes he could have been proof of alien life. He said it was the hemisphere of a planet I assume was Earth. It was cloudy, but there was a classic cigar-shaped UFO. He added that he did not feel it was man-made. So that's a pretty good stepping off point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this, from what I've looked at, kind of went hand in hand with the Apollo project in the 60s, early 60s, when they started this up after JFK fired it off. And a lot of them went hand in hand. So a lot of the speculation is that the Apollo project was more of a cover. You could go down the rabbit hole big time on this, talking about black budgets and things like that, because there's some of that touches in this story. It's hard to tell. It's one of those things. I think it would be cool, but I'm not 100% convinced.
Now I need to see the ship. I need to take a ride on it. As far as they'll take me and bring me back.
Right.
But my luck, they would take me and then just strand me. Bye, sucker. Now try telling anybody anything.
Right. So I don't know where to go on this. I mean, it's a fascinating story once you really dig into it. Just the NASA involvement, saying that they are brushing up pictures, and that's in multiple different conspiracies, I should say. That's one big theory out there, is that a lot of these videos, the ISS you've seen with all the different ships flying formations, I've seen those different other ships there. Well, it's either debris, or because it's hard to tell the distance in space, and I can see that. But then again, we're talking about the government.
Yeah. I trust them about as far as I can throw the earth.
Right. Yeah, I can't take what they say with a grain of salt, because I don't believe anything they have to say. And usually, in my view, if they're telling you they're doing something, they're doing the total opposite.
Yeah, you generally.
And so, do I believe it's possible? Yes, I absolutely do believe it's possible. Just knowing that government technology seems to be around 50 years more advanced than what we see as a general population, I could absolutely say, especially right now.
Several high-profile scientists and military people have come out over the years saying that exact thing. So I absolutely believe that.
Yeah. Even Jim Goodall, I've heard him a lot on the UFO Garage with the guys there, and I need to reach out to him, see if they can hook us up and have him come on. He does a lot of black aircraft, things like that. Was talking about technology. I think the last show they did, which was last year. And Levi, he said he just wants a laser gun, getting tired of nuking hot dogs. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
No, I mean they now have a laser pod that is fighter mountable, so fighter planes with laser
Yeah.
guns on them are a thing now.
And it's a thing of the past, really, if you think about it. What was it? 20 years ago, they had that 747
They
that had that
4 of them,
huge
didn't they?
laser. Yeah, it had a huge laser on the front of it, and the rest of the aircraft was
Chemical tanks for the chemical lasers.
the chemicals. Yeah, and they were designed to shoot down nuclear missiles.
And they work.
Yeah, they did work. I mean, they could get farther than line of sight. They could get over the curve of the earth and all that. I mean, it's just kind of crazy to think about. But that was 20 plus years ago, man.
Yeah.
And
so what have they got?
Where are
now?
we at now? Right. I've said many times, talking about the F-22 program, which is supposed to be our premier fighter. That was 1980s and early 90s technology.
Yeah, I remember the contests.
Yeah. And then you have, the Joint Strike Fighter program. That's 20-year-old technology. The aircraft I worked on in the military, they came about in the 80s and they're just now retiring them.
Right.
So 40 years. I mean, mine were the ones I built were the newest ones in the fleet, and they were built in 93. The block point and all that stuff. And is that Enzo? Is that the 747? The YAL 1? I think that's what it was.
I mean, and think about this. Back in the 80s, when we were flying the space shuttle, when the space shuttle first started flying, that was all 1960s technology. Everything on there was designed in the 60s, and it took that long for them to bring it online. Or did it?
Right.
That's what we're talking about here with the Space Force. The sixth man on the moon. Let me find my page that I just lost. Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon, has come forward regarding the existence of alien beings visiting the Earth, and has addressed the topic as in several interviews. And quote, "I suspect that in the last 60 years or so, there's been some back engineering and the creation of this type of equipment that is not nearly as sophisticated yet as our apparent visitors have." So, there's that. There's these people who should be highly credible coming out and saying, yeah, shit, I seen it.
Yeah. There's so much going on behind the scenes, I think, especially in this aspect. I mean, I don't believe that President Trump, when he stood up the Space Force, I believe there's an ulterior motive behind that, not necessarily just splitting off, the strategic air command and all that. Enzo would know more about this than I do, I'm sure, with the Air Force and all that. But I don't remember what all Trump divided, but it basically gave the control of the nuclear weapons and all that, I think, to Space Command or whatever, or the Space Force. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, well, I get to go into space now and all that. And
Excuse me.
if this is true, I could see it being a possibility. But I could see it being more of a naval asset because really, if you think about it, they have more experience in that type of environment, not necessarily a vacuum, but with submarines. Your submarines are in a 3D environment.
Right.
In a sealed hull, all that good stuff. So in that aspect, they would have more, I think, ability to be able to at least teach the tactics and have the general idea of a good use for that type of weaponry, whether it be advantageous for combat in the earth, on the earth, or if there is another threat. Enzo said, for the most part, Space Force took over all the orbital tracking and satellite tech from the regular Air Force. I got you.
We should just invite Enzo on.
Yes,
He's more than welcome.
We should. He wants to come on. He can come on anytime.
Absolutely.
Send him
Anytime.
a link.
Well, you know, and in the 60s,
I don't know all this
ASAP.
jargon.
the military had the MOL, the Manned Orbital Laboratories that they were working on.
No.
They were working on putting a nuclear missile base on the moon that fell through, or did it?
I don't think it did. I think it's there.
You think it's there?
I think it's
And
there. I
that-
think it's under.
That would be a good reason for NASA to airbrush photos,
Mhm.
not for aliens, but to hide a U.S. missile base on the moon.
And well, I think it's mostly under the surface.
Well, I mean, that's what
Honestly. Yeah.
I would do.
Enzo, it's sent.
Save us, Enzo.
Yes.
Save
Never trust a show known
Anyway.
the man known as the cheese.
Right.
the cheese.
Cheese. I've shortened it from Swiss cheese brain. It's just cheese.
It's funny. Yeah, I really do. I think there's stuff there. I think it's been there a long time, and I don't think it's just the United States that has things there, and I don't think it's just humans that have things there. I think it's
That wouldn't surprise me.
you know, one of the things that out of everything that I've been reading this afternoon, the one thing that stands out, if I can find it, is right here. It says, Bill Tompkins also stated that without cloaking devices, our skies would be filled with flying craft. So they're everywhere. We just don't see them because they're cloaked. And how many times do we see something or
Damn Romulans.
video where it looks like something's like losing its cloaking or is uncloaked, you know?
They're fading in and out. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
probably one of the freakiest things I read. That and all the AI tie-ins, which is a
Yeah,
little
it's
concerning.
it's kind of weird. I mean, you see all this stuff. I mean, we kind of grew up. Let's see. Project Horizon. Joe just sent me a link. Let me see.
Horizon was the base on the moon.
Yeah. Yeah, Volume 1, Summary and Supporting Considerations for Horizon.
Oh, nice.
Hey, there's Enzo.
Yay.
Hey,
What's up, Enzo?
There is the man right there.
Hello.
Hey.
Project Horizon. That's the classic. That's kind of the root of all of it, really. That they actually had plans way back then to go.
Nice.
Yeah, then the question always is did they or didn't they? Because if they did, they'd never tell us.
Oh no!
Especially
well,
after
they've
they
been-
signed the treaty, said that they wouldn't.
Right. It's a pretty sticky wicket because it's the first thing you have to come up with is, well, if they've got all this stuff already up there buzzing around, is how did they get it there?
Right?
A big rocket launch, like Apollo Day, especially even Apollo days. Every TV was pointed at it. Everybody wanted to know what was going on and know all about it, which slowly drifted off when we started doing it all the time. It's that's the standard now. Just go into space. No big deal anymore. But so then it comes down to is like, all right, did they have like a secret site that they were launching stuff up? Because it would have had to have been. We've seen how big a Saturn V rocket is compared to this monstrous structure with this tiny little piece on it that has the capsule and the thing. It's like, but everything that came after that was significantly smaller. When you start looking at like a space shuttle
Right.
and stuff like that, it's like, but pushing more stuff. It's like, okay, the technology hasn't changed that much for what they're doing. It's still you know, combinations of chemical rockets and stuff like that. Was there stuff hidden inside the Saturn V that expanded out and things like that? I don't know.
That's a good question. Joe is dropping some serious documentation on us, which is awesome. I mean,
you should have him on too.
If you're up for it, Joe, come on.
Well, if we were to try this nowadays, I would say to use all those lava tubes that they found with the orbiter not too long ago.
That would be
Yeah.
cool.
That's the way to go to protect from radiation and everything like that, is having that natural barrier of just, I almost said the earth, but it's not the earth up there. It would just be dirt, I guess, just regolith between you and where you're trying to live.
Those tubes are like 230 feet across and 10 miles long.
Yeah, that's also the ideal thing for like starting out on Mars and stuff like that, is just go underground. That way you don't have to worry about leaks and asteroids and meteorites and stuff like that punching through any kind of magical dome that you would have on there like you see on a movie.
Oh yeah. Send the mole machine from Jules Verne's mole machine.
Elon does have that boring operation that he has.
I can tell that Elon Musk has read a lot of Jules Verne.
He is Jules Verne. He really is.
So I mean that leads me to a question.
Not as charming.
What was he calls that, what, the loop or something like that?
Oh, and
Elon Musk. I think
Vegas.
Is that the loop? Is that what he's calling it?
Yeah.
But is that a test bed? I wonder.
I think he's done it in other places, but I don't think it's been like large scale, like from like one city to another, or even like an extension on other mass transit type systems.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still going and still has a company there, so they're digging somewhere. It's making money.
Oh yeah, and when you figure out how to make money, that's when you make big things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
since we're talking about that on the moon or even Mars, I know he's wanting to go to Mars. Do you think he plans to take that technology with him?
Oh, sure. That's what you would need to do. I think ideally what you would want to do is have it all robotic and all kind of have its own little AI and stuff. You just send them up there. They create the whole base and everything like that. And then we can just move in when we get there.
Yeah, it would make sense just for safety's sake. I mean, he's got the technology to land the rockets. Starship, I mean, even though the last launch it blew up, but that was an awesome achievement.
If you look at our early NASA program, we blew up a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
This is true.
So just they were super excited there on Elon Musk's side just to have that thing get as far as it did. They were like, it's like, if it makes it out, if it clears the launch tower, we're going to be super excited, So it made it a lot further along than what they were hoping for. So they were very happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Unscheduled rapid disassembly.
That's what they called it.
Yeah.
Well, that's like those engineering notes. How did you fix it? Percussive maintenance. Well, what does that mean? I hit it with a hammer till it worked.
Yep.
I have been guilty of that a few times.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thermal realignment. It melted.
Yep. So, what was that called? Man, I'm spacing out right now.
Well, you're in luck. That's the topic of the show. So you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Horizon or
Horizon. So, I mean, to me, it makes total sense that these are one and the same, the Secret Space Force and all that, because it seems to be about the same time as early 50s, early mid or 60s, sorry. Right along with the Apollo program. So it was Neil Armstrong and all that, the rumor has it that up there, they had that space of time where they weren't technically transmitting. And he's
Right.
made the comment to where something along the lines of they're looking back at us.
Yeah, there. Yeah, up on the crater, there's other craft that they're watching us. There's something that
Right. Yeah, it was something along that lines. Is that someone else? I'm guessing, or was it part of the secret space force?
Well, I would think if they're sending men to the moon, that they would have to have some level of knowledge of that already, in case they did, like, even accidentally saw one of these other craft out there that actually belongs to us, but they'd have been read into it. I feel, it's like just as they're like snapping the helmet on their head and getting ready to move them, it's like, oh, by the way, we got a bunch of stuff up there already. This is all for show. It's
Now
the Russians may be waiting on you,
Or the Germans.
which they almost were.
the
Most people don't realize
Germans.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ingo
Spoon.
Swan.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Are you guys familiar with Ingo Swan?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I'm in the middle of reading Penetration, or listening. I should say I don't do a lot of reading. I do more listening than anything. And that's one of the big things they try to get him in. And it's a really cool story if it's true. I mean, it's a cool story either way, but if it was true, or if it is true, that's a whole nother paradigm, because we'll just say agents basically recruit him. I want to say in the 70s, late 70s. And see, because he's into remote viewing, and they give him a set of coordinates, and he goes to those coordinates in his remote viewing, and it's on the moon. And these people, he said, they look just like humans, except they were more psychic. They were able to see him in his viewing form, or astral form, whatever you want to call it.
Which is unusual.
And yeah, it absolutely is. And they decided, and he's like, nope, you need to get back. So he came back, and then a couple years later, it's a cool story. I would highly recommend, if you're into this, interested in remote viewing or this secret space force thing, that you look it up. It's really cool. And because I'm sorry.
He's the one that Ingo Swan's the one that they actually brought in and really set up the basis of controlled remote viewing. He's the one that made up the steps and made the protocol, I guess is what you would say.
Right.
And we've talked about that before. The big difference between out of body and controlled remote viewing is the fact that you can't be detected wherever you go. And the reason they didn't want to do the astral projection or whatever is because even guard dogs and things could detect people,
You'd be like a
and
ghost.
start barking at them and alert. So, but if you did controlled remote viewing, they didn't know you were there. So that's interesting for them to say that he controlled remote viewed the moon, and these things acknowledged him, because that's kind of crazy.
Means they had to be a whole lot stronger.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of questions arise from that. This was in the late 70s. The Apollo program was already done.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a reason why we haven't went back?
Is it?
You know what I'm saying? Does it make it more challenging? Because from everything that this book is saying, these people that were on the moon were observers, and they weren't really benevolent, if that makes sense. They were more aggressive. Right. They were more aggressive towards us. And later on, a few years later, he has a run-in with what comes out to be one of them. And it just so happens these agents were there and got him away from the situation.
Wow.
It's a weird story. It's a cool story. But
there's other remote viewers that have similar stories to that too, where they're like, try and view what's on one of these UFOs or something like that, and it typically ends with like, I think I see some, beings, which basically are like grays, and suddenly
And
the grays are like,
you go home now.
Detected. Yeah.
Right.
It's like as soon as they're like, huh, and then they snap out of it, they're gone.
I've never even heard of him, Joe. Joe said y'all should have Steven Schwartz on and ask him about remote viewing on the moon.
Metaphysical.
I bet he would love to have something cool to say.
That where
What's
he's
that?
at? I'm trying to think of where I know Steven Schwartz. Is it metaphysical? I could be totally wrong on that.
Well,
That
and
name's ringing a bell, though.
you brought up something. Apollo ended in the 70s with Apollo 17. There is a huge conspiracy network out there that thinks that 18, 19, and 20 actually flew. They just didn't tell us about it.
And I've heard that as well. But again, that goes back to, well, where do they launch out of? Somebody would have noticed 3 more Saturn V's going up in the air, no matter where it was.
You would think, because they're pretty big. They're pretty big candles. So,
Levi, we put quick thought. What if the craft we're seeing aren't operated by beings, but the craft was a being itself? That's pretty.
Nope.
No?
You guys seen that movie yet?
Oh, the movie. Nope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought you were
Nope.
just
Yeah, that was-
disagreeing.
Nope.
It was a decent movie. I enjoyed it for the suspense, but I'm like, I mean, it was a cool idea,
Yeah.
but to
To
me,
I
it
wasn't
fell
wild
off
about
towards
the
end.
ending, but yeah, the ending
Yeah.
got a little cattywampus. It's like, what's the plan here? What are you doing?
Right. Space whale.
yeah. Have you ever watched the series Farscape? It's basically if
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're
yeah.
riding a space whale. Yeah.
Okay. He said he's who the government contacted to start the remote viewing project.
Oh, that's why I know the name. Then I was totally off base.
Yeah. See, I mean, I've been aware of like the CIA using remote viewing, and I really didn't dive off. I haven't really dove off real deep into it. But I think I probably will now. I've kind of gotten more into this Ingo Swann story and all that. And to me, it's fascinating.
The KGB was doing it.
You need to look up Lynn Buchanan and Lori Williams. Both have some really good books. Lynn was in the program, and Lori is a student of Lynn's who has branched off and has begun teaching it as well. And it's pretty fascinating stuff.
It is. It's real quick. Joe said him and his team have found a lot of ancient archaeological sites. Yeah, it's cool to think about. I mean, because I've said for a long time, we as humans are a spiritual being. I don't have any doubts about that. Except I think we are being suppressed, whether it be through diet or drugs or just our environment. But I kind of also think that it goes along. Have you guys ever read the book Alien Interview?
I have.
It is actually, I think I gave it to you, didn't I, Mark? I bought it for you.
Yes. I was getting ready to say a good friend of mine bought that for me.
Yeah, it's a cool book. I can't remember the name of the lady or the writer. But they talk about the Roswell crash, the only survivor would only speak to a nurse there. And it goes into a lot of detail about how we are being observed. You know, they're, I think, based in the asteroid belt. And what we're seeing as grays are actually basically avatars. And it's an interesting book.
Interesting idea. Yeah.
It is. It's a really interesting book.
And that would actually make more sense to me, that that's not something that just the gray as it is. It's like, how did they evolve like this exactly?
Right.
That does make sense, because there's you wouldn't have to, there's no focus really on the details on them. They're just, workhorses.
Well, and it's not a unique idea. I'm going to break out a favorite sci-fi author of mine, Arthur C. Clarke, talked about biological robots in Rendezvous with Rama.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't somebody else think of that too?
Yeah. Yeah. Rendezvous with Rama. That's an excellent book, by the way. And
It is.
when Oumuamua did its pass by several years ago, it's like, oh my God, it's coming true. 'Cause
Honestly,
that's basically
I
how
think
that's
they're
done.
working on a movie.
They've been kicking that idea around for a while. I know there's been a couple different outfits out in Hollywood that have been looking at it, but of course, that's a lot of money, even as a
Oh, that's going to be a
you know,
huge money, even with CGI.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, talking about Oumuamua, do you think, because I can't remember his name, but I want to say he was a Harvard scientist or was it MIT, Harvard? I can't remember his name, but he came out and said chances are it was alien.
Yeah,
And
Avi Loeb is his name. He
There you go.
believes that what we saw wasn't necessarily an alien ship, but possibly like a solar sail from some other craft. Which I mean, it came from outside of our own solar system. This wasn't one of our regular, orbiting pieces of flotsam and
Right.
jetsam we normally have. The trajectory it came from was well above the ecliptic and came in at a sharp angle, swung around, and there were oddities just even because it was actually heading away from us before we even spotted it. That's how good our
Right.
program is. But,
What?
that they noticed that it seemed to accelerate faster than
Yeah.
it should have for the mass that it was, or at least they assume it was, which is part of why Avi Loeb believes it may have been like a solar sail. Is after it swung around the sun and started heading out, that maybe the sail oriented in such a way where it started catching that solar wind, so to speak, and
Right.
started accelerating away.
Oh, and our own scientists are working on a system to use a solar cell type thing with a laser mounted in orbit of the moon to push spacecraft to Mars in under a week.
Oh, easily.
If you set one of those up at each destination point, we could have not day trips, but we could take a week and go to Mars. For an astronomical sum.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Literally.
Once you got this end set up and then you had the same exact gear set up on the other side, then you're going back and forth a week in transit, and that's it. That's
And
that's
that makes
pretty
it totally
doable.
practical. Totally
Yeah.
practical. So
Almost like a portal.
portals
Yeah,
are fun. I want a portal.
That's honestly, that's what some of the stuff I ran across talked about. This gentleman who claims to have been part of the secret space force, that's how they were sent from place to place was through portals, and that they went underground. They went through the portal and went straight into underground on the moon. That's how they got there. That's how they get to Mars. That's how they get to all these different places. And
Well, that sounds a whole lot like that Project Pegasus thing we were talking
Like the
about.
chronovisor.
yes,
Yep.
I know. And that's what I kept drawing these parallels when I was reading this with Project Pegasus. So I thought it was really interesting that
Nikola Tesla strikes
Mhm.
again.
Yes.
It makes
yes.
you think it matches up so well.
Yeah.
It does really match up very well.
Levi, he put on there, he said, I can't wait to see interplanetary transit become regular if we don't blow ourselves up first.
Yeah. No kidding.
Unfortunately, I
young
think it's
enough,
going to be
he
the
might
latter
see it.
first.
We'll probably never see it. I don't know. We might.
I don't know.
I don't
Never
know. I
know.
mean,
Chinese are working on a new electronic drive that's supposed to be pretty awesome.
but are we as a
Probably stole it from us.
people,
Exactly. We've been working on that for a while.
but as a people, are we mature enough to use that type of technology?
No, but we will anyway.
I don't think we are.
Not fun.
I'm not
Like
mature
giving
enough
a
to use a
toddler
butter knife. What?
Laser.
Well, let's be fair to humanity here. Sure, we got a buttload of nukes ready at a button push to go off. But we've only used them twice in a wartime environment.
That's true. That's a good point.
So we're showing some restraint. It's more of a saber rattling technique, I feel, at this stage, rather than I don't like you, and start launching.
Thank God they
And I would
didn't
agree
use
with that.
Plowshare. Have you heard about that program?
Which one is that?
Plowshare, they had a plan to use nukes to cut a mile-wide path through the Rockies and put in a superhighway.
Jeez.
Just flatten the whole son of a bitch a mile wide.
Because that's not going to have any huge repercussions.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
to be fair, back in like the late 40s, early 50s, it's like, hey, we can utilize this atom splitting device, and really had no concept of long-term radiation exposure or any of that. There was a lot of stuff that they just didn't know.
General Electric was working on a nuclear-powered jet aircraft.
Yep. Which I don't think we're too far from again. Enzo, you may remember when Jim Goodall was on the UFO Garage sometime last year when he's talking about Skunk Works and how they had a small nuclear generator, basically, and they're trying to get it sized down more to install it in an aircraft. And I've seen a picture of it here. I think I want to say it was here a couple of weeks ago, and it looks like about the size of a shipping container.
Right. Supposedly, we almost have it to the point where we can build a liquid salt reactor that would fit on, say, a Caravan or some sort of aircraft about that size.
Radiating.
No
kidding.
See that mountain? Yes, sir. I don't want it. I don't want to. It's a great way to make a radiated cryptids.
Not only do we have lizard people, now they glow in the dark.
Well, if you watch the Doctor Who, it was the radiation that brought them back to life.
That's true.
Oh.
Yep. That was a Tom Baker episode.
This is
I
for the
loved it.
gamers. If you ever played the game Fallout, that's what it's about. It's
love
a nuclear
Fallout.
wasteland.
That's a great
But
show.
the
That's a great
creatures
one.
and stuff
Yeah.
that come out of it. I mean, it's
I play Fallout all the time.
I guess they're making a
played Fall
TV
Down.
show
Is
of
that
that, which
that
maybe
might be
later this
cool.
year.
I guess depends on who's in it, but it might be a cool show.
That does
I know
not
I
count,
talked about
Pam.
Thank you for acknowledging that, Jess. Nobody else did.
I did. I pointed.
I'm sorry, Pam.
I was talking over you, to be fair. I don't know what you said.
Oh, no. You guys are talking about playing Fallout, and I said I play Fall Down.
She does.
Oh.
She does a really good job of it. Show them your
Pam
wing.
has a lot of
I
gravity
can't
right
show them
around
my
her at
wing,
all
or I
times.
would.
It's-
The wing is.
I don't think she can
doesn't
lift
work.
it that high.
I can't wait. I can't lift it.
Oh, man.
no extraneous moves for Pam. She may break
No.
something else.
Again.
No, don't need it.
Ugh.
That girl, I swear, sometime we're gonna have to wrap her in bubble wrap.
I just can't. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm to the point where, I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good idea. Crazy.
So, but all along with this secret space force, one of the things that caught my eye was, and it's been pretty well debunked, but the whole Apollo 20 making a trip to visit a downed alien spacecraft on the moon and try to recover the stuff from Apollo 19, which was doing the same thing but went silent. I didn't
That
see
was
it
the
being
one-
a huge hoax,
that-
but
That was the one
If-
with the video where they showed like the weird mummy looking lady and all that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a guy in France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty good video for some guy in France. I mean,
I think I missed that one somehow.
It was actually pretty interesting.
oh, you should watch
But I
it. I
did-
mean, it's pretty cool.
I will have to look for that.
It would be a good movie.
It would make a great motion picture, yes,
Yeah.
which is what he was trying to do. But
Yeah.
Well, they kind of did that already with what was the movie they just had here a year or so ago where the moon came crashing out of orbit kind of thing.
Yeah. You know,
That's-
as corny as that movie was, Moonfall, I think was the name of it.
I think
It was
that's it.
it was pretty entertaining because it brought together so many different theories, like the hollow moon and being a satellite and all that. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
even
far-fetched,
and actually
yes, but
That's a
the
pretty
bad-
old theory.
to even tie into your show last week, the bad guy was an AI. It was an
Yep.
artificial intelligence that was chasing after this
Yep.
other one. So it's there were a lot of different tie-ins for that whole movie. As a fun popcorn movie, it's fine.
Yep.
Scientifically, there's some problems, but it is,
yeah, absolutely. And I don't think we're done with the AI subject yet. There was so much. I listened
No,
to
it changes every day.
a podcast today, and there's so much that I learned. I mean, we talked about Fermi's paradox, and this is our moment. I mean, kind of off subject, but I don't know that we could really have a space force without some kind of technology like that.
right.
Because I think the technology involved to keep people in space for such a long period of time. Pam, I think you were saying earlier, they served in the Space Force for 20 years or something like that. Now, granted, they probably weren't in space that amount of time, but we know the physical effect from the people in the space station, at least what they're telling us.
Oh yeah, they start losing bone and muscle.
Yeah,
Right.
big time.
Is that technology? I mean, there has to be something to monitor that because, I mean, we're squishy. I mean, me especially, I'm squishy, but
I'm too big to fit in the ship, so I know I'm not.
right.
So.
All right. Well, let's throw this out here. A lot of people say the technology to make an artificial gravity wheel in a ship does not exist. Okay. Well, one, it does because it's not that big of a
Yeah.
wheel. But
No.
do you realize that the gravity section on the Discovery for 2001 Space Odyssey was actually a practical effect? They actually built that wheel. And as he's jogging through there, he's just walking in place as they turn the wheel around him.
Yep.
So, I mean, it could be done, and it wouldn't be that large. They're talking about putting that space station in orbit around the moon to make it, as a way stop between the moon and Earth, and then maybe eventually Mars and the moon. There's no reason why we could not put a gravity wheel in there, just a centrifugal wheel to produce a pseudo gravity. There's no reason why we couldn't. It wouldn't be that difficult. Expensive,
Right.
yes.
I agree.
Difficult, not really.
And talking about the space station around the moon, the idea to have the infrastructure to put these kind of ships, I think what was it, 20, something like that, 20 ships up in space that this guy found. They would have to have basically a shipyard. In the way I see it and the way I think about it, they would have to have the infrastructure in space to build these spacecraft.
And honestly, they'd have to have some sort of field propulsion because people would notice that many space launches. They really would.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's all
and-
maybe it's all located on the big mothership that's supposed to be just beyond our
And
Our
it could
side.
be. I mean, I know there's talks of through the Secret Space Force and all that, the 0 point energy, them using that and all of that. But I think that's the biggest detractor for me is the infrastructure issue. And like you guys said,
Huge one.
If to put that in reference, if you were to think about again going back to like the Navy, which is the easiest analogy for it, a submarine base, we'll just say, or any naval base where there's a lot of ships and stuff like that. How many people work there just to keep all of that running?
Mhm.
The people that actually work on the ship, the people that just take care of all the dock working stuff, the cargo loading, the supply issues, all of this movement back and forth just to keep those ships operational going in and out of there.
And people
My-
suck
my
at keeping
brother, he-
secrets.
My brother was a CB in the Navy, and that's what they did. They went ahead of everyone else to build the bridges, to clear the paths, to get everything set into place, get that infrastructure going. So when they got there, they would be able to really, do something besides have to build everything they needed to do it at
Right.
REV.
Hey, real quick, I'm going to share this. Joe just sent this to me. We're talking about the nuclear fusion reactors, or it says compact fusion, but I'll share it real quick and let you guys take a look. It's pretty cool. Joe's hooking us up with some cool information.
Save some for your own show. Compact Fusion 2019 Skunkworks.
Oh.
Is this from Jim's book?
I'm guessing.
Oh, while we're talking about that, recently Microsoft invested a huge amount of money into fusion reactor technology. They have come to believe as a corporation that it is close enough to reality that they can invest in it safely.
Wow. That's
So,
pretty cool.
say what you
There's-
want about Bill Gates, he is not stupid. He knows how to make money.
Well, I guess the plan is to do a lot of those salt reactors, like we talked about earlier. That they're not really designed for like large, like giant cities or anything. However, you could have a dozen of them.
Yes, you can mass produce them.
That you can,
Mhm.
and they are easily set up for mass production, where you could have them all over the place instead of one central power station that covers like multiple
Right,
states.
you could put
have a
one
lot
for
of
each
smaller ones
city, or
spread out.
you can
Right.
scale them to the size of your city, so each city could have its own power plant. On that note, I saw an article on Facebook from the National Nuclear, whatever the hell it was. It actually showed a video of the company that is designing those forging the vessel for one of those. They're putting 6 of them in someplace in I want to say Minnesota. And they're going to start a pilot project and get them running.
Nice.
So, I mean, that's not too
I
far
think-
away.
I think you're going to see a lot of folks, big industries and stuff like that, get more into those, like molten salt reactors and things like that are, not plutonium based or things like that, because believe me, we should have been off fossil fuels a long time ago, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you have to have something to go to, and we just don't have it yet. Nothing that's as portable and powerful as a gallon of gasoline versus your electric vehicle that you still got to plug it in every night. You still
And
can
runs
only
on
go
coal.
X amount.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and then see, the nice thing about the lifter technology, the liquid salt, is not only can you use a uranium-based fuel, you can also use fuel that's already been used.
Yeah.
You can grind it up because it's not in pellet form; it's ground up into a powder. You can run thorium in it. You can run plutonium in it. You can run nuclear waste in it, and it just
That's
keeps on.
crazy.
It just keeps on cooking. And when it's done, the byproduct has a half-life of a few hundred years instead of a few 100,000 years.
All that one little cave in Nevada that has all of the country's nuclear waste that's been stored for decades.
It's now
They can
fuel again.
They can
Mhm.
repurpose all of that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's a lot easier to design a vessel that will store something for 100 or 200 years than it is for a couple 100,000 years.
Right.
So we won't have Space 1999 where all the nuclear waste blows up and pushes the moon out of orbit. Well, that was an excellent series, by the way. I don't care what anybody says.
It was good as long as you didn't think too hard about it. It's like, how fast is this moon traveling? It's in a different star system every week.
That was the warps.
But-
As far as the secret Space Force topic goes, there's some pretty deep rabbit holes. I didn't know if you were gonna how far you wanted to venture down some of those. Because
I'm not wanting to go real deep into them, but
yeah,
they're kind of fun to kind of skirt around the edges and look down, like, woo,
yeah,
what do you got down there? What you got there, buddy?
There have been some outlandish claims made over the years, and
One I read said that they had like 20 motherships and a whole bunch of little scout ships.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the tame ones, honestly.
Yeah, that
yeah,
really was.
When you start getting into the 20 and back program stuff,
Yes,
and
yeah.
all of Corey Good's stuff is just out the door crazy. Where
Yeah, I mean,
of course, recent revelations about him, of course, where it's all been a lie. It's all.
I was going to
tales.
say, I mean, can we officially say Corey Good is debunked? You know, I mean,
it's from his own words. I mean, it's
Right.
I ran across a lot on a guy named Jason Rice, and he was talking about the 20 and back club. And I was trying to explain it, or 20 black club, listen to me. I was trying to explain it to these guys a little bit beforehand, 20 back program. But if that is true, or if that could even be possible, that's crazy.
It is crazy. And apparently Solar Warden is a real program.
Yeah.
It's just not what everybody thinks it is.
Yeah.
yeah.
This gentleman put in a FOIA request, and they got back with him and said that it was a real program, but you're talking to the wrong people because it was transferred to here. And then they said, well, it was transferred to here. So, I mean, so that a lot of these crazy outlandish claims all have some grain of truth.
right.
Yeah, but it's hard, and they intentionally make it hard to decipher what's true, what's not. So
They change program names and all that stuff constantly. So even if you did get a FOIA thing, it's like, oh, I want every piece of scrap of information on Project Ward. And it's like, oh, it's only this much. They don't tell you that they changed the name this year to this, and now it's called
times,
something else. And yeah,
they changed the name monthly, so
pretty much.
And if you don't know how to ask for it, how are you going to get it? Because
that's exactly
that's why they do
that.
That's exactly why they do that.
yeah, Joe said, "Well, you put a lot of tape on it."
Yeah, red tape.
Yep, bunch of it. I mean, if you're talking about changing names, I mean, if you look what they did with UFOs, I mean, changed the UAPs, and it's a detractor. I think it's a distraction to try to throw people off the trail. I think if you just use the idea, I mean, what I try to do is if they're telling you they're doing something, look at the total opposite. And see what and try to figure out and decipher and discern for yourself. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Right.
Yeah.
Well, the government is made up a bunch of lying liars that like to lie. They're very good at what they do.
Tell us how you really feel, Mark. We're right there with you. It's okay.
I mean, if you've got a skill, I guess you should just embrace it.
Right?
Yeah.
They're very good at it.
Used car salesman to politician track is apparently
short.
very successful career field for some
Good
people.
transition, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. There was an old cartoon. The kid saying, "I think I'm going to get into organized crime, Dad." Dad looks over the paper, public or private, and the headline is something about corruption in Congress.
Right.
It's a pretty thin line that separates those two.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's enough deniability, I guess, that they could say, "Well, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist." You have your above top secrets and stuff the president don't even have a clue about because it's ongoing. I mean, if you just take a look at Skunk Works,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there's so many projects going on. The president's just left out in the dark so he can have that
And I
plausible
have
deniability.
literally
Yeah, and if
seen.
he's only going to be there for 4 years or 8 years
Right.
tops, then what does he really need to know? You know,
Yeah.
Right.
And,
I
and
have seen interviews where they've said, "We're told even if the president asks you what we're doing, well, no, sir, that project doesn't exist."
Mhm.
Right.
So that brings up the whole military industrial complex
Uh-huh.
from the 50s. Who's running what?
Who's really truly in charge?
Do we really have a democracy, or is the military industrial complex running the whole shebang?
Yeah. Is it
Just
that
making it
the
feel like we're doing something?
yeah, I mean, it's all an illusion. I think is it what they, the shadow government?
Yeah, I think that's
You
totally a
know, I
true
mean,
thing.
I think
the intelligence agencies that run a lot of these things, they view politicians as temporary. They can get
Yeah.
voted out or be found in a compromising position, and so they view them as a security risk as far as telling them
And a
everything.
liability, and absolutely,
Yeah.
a lot of them have been.
Yes.
They're not wrong.
yeah. I mean,
That's
if
true.
we look at what's went on the last several years, I mean, you have people that are supposed to be in leadership sleeping with foreign spies and pay to play and all that junk. I mean,
But you got to admit, she was kind of hot.
well,
most honeypots are. That's how that works.
That's funny.
but
Something
I mean,
I ran
I
across that
guess
was
that's
kind of
the-
wild. It said that people are living heavily scripted lives with an illusion of free will and control, and that's
Mhm.
the words, or that's the line I was looking for, because that really plays into what we're talking about here. Which is
NPCs.
really scary. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. We talked a lot about that on the NPC episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was surprised how many parallels we're pulling from past episodes on this.
I'm not.
It's all
Yeah.
Everything's
It all
connected.
ties
It's
together.
all connected.
Yeah, it does.
It's all
Right.
connected. That's right.
It's all connected. Favorite line.
So
I always know that we're on to something on some of these topics we cover when they start making all these extreme connections. Like, wait a minute, if this is true, then this topic, and this topic all ties in with that.
Mhm.
right.
So,
So there's
Right,
truth in
exactly.
all of this somewhere.
yeah.
that's what's scary is when you start stringing these theories together and they start holding water between them. Are you onto something, or are they just trying to make you think you're onto something?
Mhm.
Right. I mean, it's funny just because the journey that we've been on. Mark, it's almost been 3 years, man.
It's almost, yes.
But it's funny the stuff you go down and look at how everything is connected. I mean, even stuff that you wouldn't think have any connections. Some of the stuff we talk about on the other show, how some of it ties into this stuff. I mean, it's just
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
weird.
that's what's crazy. We're having fun on this show. We're talking about things that a lot of people, believe it or not, or what have you. And then on the other show, we're talking about things that are basically provable most of the time. And it's like, wait, this is starting to bleed over.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, is it
What's
something?
going on? I'm scared.
Is it something? I mean, people that think like we do. I mean, I would like to say that we're all pretty well like-minded in this sphere, anyway.
Mhm.
Is it something that we're looking for those connections and we're kind of wishful thinking them into place?
I don't think
I mean-
so. We all do our research. We deep dive these things and those pop up. We don't hunt them out. I don't know
Right.
how many times I've been, sitting at my desk working on a new topic and before the end of the hour, I have 5 connections to things I've previously looked at. And it happens every time, unless I'm, you know, really looking into something I know is an absolute farce. We don't hunt them out. If you do the work, if you put your time in, you're going to find them. I don't think it's coincidental, or they're just there to be found. And some of us are just taking the time to actually find them.
Right.
Well, and honestly, it just goes to show you truth is often quite a bit stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would
Stuff
agree
you
with
just
that.
can't make up. I mean,
So
I would not write half of the things that we found out are true as a fictional story because nobody would believe it. But then come to find out it actually happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't believe these people did this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Joe said the president is just a temporary employee. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think to a point, I think presidents in the past had a little bit more to do with it, and at some point there was a cutoff where
I
some
think-
entities within or outside the government decided, we don't like them having a hand in this so much. They're a liability. But I think, like, going back to like maybe like Eisenhower and stuff, I think
That's
they
what I was
still
just
had a
gonna say.
hand in it at the time.
that might have been the break right there.
It might have been.
Yeah, he was telling way too many people, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
Yeah, I would say-
his whole thing, that's a whole, that would be a fun show topic if you guys ever want to do the Eisenhower and like the Greta Treaty and all of that. That would be a fantastic show to do.
That would be
Chris,
fun.
if you're listening, put that down on our list. Yeah, she keeps a list. Because otherwise I'll forget.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Me too.
I'd
But,
forget my
yeah,
head
I was
if it
gonna
was
say-
attached to my shoulders.
Eisenhower, because I mean he did speak about the military industrial complex, you know, and
He was right.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, Enzo, you've experienced it. I've experienced it. You know, you see the things that a lot of people are just now seeing, but I saw 20 years ago. I'm sure you can have the same story, Enzo. You
Yeah.
saw a lot of things coming to fruition long before anybody knew anything about it. You're retired, aren't you? You're retired Air Force?
Yes, I retired in 2009.
Yeah. So yeah, you saw a lot more than I did. A guy I work with was talking to one of our old bosses, and he was retired Air Force as well. And he was talking about because down here, you guys may see them over your way, but you see the B2s. You know, we're like in the pattern for the B2s, you know, in their training patterns. And this guy at work was saying, I saw a white one. You know, and
White one.
yeah. And he was telling our old boss about it. And our old boss is like, you didn't see anything. You know, he's flat told him, you didn't see anything. You weren't supposed to see that. So
This is not
I
the
mean-
aircraft you're looking for.
exactly, that's what it was. But that's what that's what I love about the industry that I work in is you get to see a lot of cool stuff. I mean, now more on the civilian side is not as cool. I mean, I tell some of the guys at work, I mean, these aren't real airplanes. Real airplanes have hard points. You know, that's the way I look at it. And but to see some of that technology, you know, these guys are talking about the visors and the technology that's in the F-35. I'm like, man, I saw that 20 years ago.
Yeah,
And-
it doesn't seem that spectacular especially if you've seen the progression it's made, over the years. It's if you've been out of the bit like I've been out since 2009, I'm sure there's quite a bit of things that are at least a progression different from what I remember. But
Well, look at how much just computers have improved over the last 10, 20 years. I was looking at a gaming PC with 24 cores. It's like, That blew my mind. So,
what-
I mean, even like 20 some years ago, if you showed someone this,
Yeah.
they'd have had a heart attack.
what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Is it like a
Yeah, I remember.
like a TV? What is it? You know?
Yeah, I remember when the first touchscreen phone I got, I was just enamored with it, and I'm like, man, that's old. That's junk. Get rid of it.
Yeah, it
you
is.
know? And
Seen it.
and again, that's where that ties into AI. We were saying last week, the advancement is so fast, and it's even getting faster. It'll blow your mind on how fast things are getting, and it's things that I never thought I would see as a kid. And now we're like, this is nuts, man. I mean, the way things are going, I don't know if you can hear my kids in the background, but they're being a little loud.
Sound like they're having a great
But-
time.
Yeah, as long as they're not fighting, I'm good with it.
Right?
Those are good noises.
Yeah,
It was a good scream.
yeah, it was. But to me, I mean, the way I think about things with the Secret Space Force thing, if it was in the mid 60s, I don't, and I could be wrong, but I don't see the tech being where it needs to. In my mind, I don't see it being where it needed to be at that time. Is it feasible more so now? I think so.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right now. Could they be pulling that off behind our backs right now? Look at all the launches now that
Yeah,
nobody even notices anymore. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, after Musk put up Starlink, yeah, whatever. It's just it's probably
that's
Starlink.
another one. Yeah,
Actually, at our meeting that we had down at your place a couple weeks ago, the most common question after it all broke up that I had from people were about satellites. So how to identify them, what do they look like, all
Right.
of that. Because of people seeing weird stuff in the sky. Now you're actually, it used to be rare that you would, well, one, if you went outside at night and even looked up, or lived in an area that you could actually see stars.
Mhm.
But now there's so many satellites going up, especially low Earth type satellites like Starlink, that you can clearly see. And especially if they're doing that Starlink train, that conga line going across the sky, that's very alarming the first time you see it.
How many satellites did we see that one night we went up on the hill?
Oh
It must
man,
have been
I don't know.
80.
It was a bunch.
It was like, there's another one. There's another one. There's another
Yeah.
one. There's another one.
Yep.
Just boom, boom, boom.
So it's easy to say that in the 60s we didn't have the tech in place. What would it take to say maybe it wasn't our tech that was in place? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if it was someone else,
I mean-
someone else's tech that was working with us or working for whatever
that we
reason that
stole.
we don't.
Or could it be? I mean,
If they had that
Um,
kind of tech, I don't think we could steal it from them at this point or in the 60s for sure.
I'm glad you brought that up, because just thinking about it, with the supposed treaty or whatever Eisenhower signed, they were allowed, to abduct so many people in return for technology, that I don't think there's anything saying that they couldn't have assisted us
Mhm.
in building
Just
this
giving us a
stuff.
lift.
Yeah.
And then you see all the theories of we've been reverse engineering all these crashed UFOs, some of them that they found from centuries ago.
Mhm.
I mean, that's also within the realm of possibility, I believe. It's plausible.
Oh, we talked about that. We talked about that on the last show. We were talking about like the Montauk chair and
Right.
Yeah.
all of that. So
I mean, reverse engineering, it's a thing.
Mhm.
The Russians are really good at it. What Russian plane was that where they took a B-29 and duplicated it clear down to a patch in the hull where it had been in an accident, because they told him make it exactly like this, so they were
Exactly.
afraid to make it any different, so they put the patch on the hull where the hole was.
that's hilarious.
And they flew it for years. It was their main bomber for years. It
Wow.
was just
Perfect
an out
match.
and out. It was just an out and out copy.
Goodness.
So, I mean, we're pretty good monkeys. You know, you give us a wrench, we can do a lot of stuff.
Within reason, I think, like an argument I always hear about from some people is like, okay, if we've had this downed alien craft from Roswell since 1947, surely by now we could have backward engineered all of it by now. Not necessarily. Not
If it was centuries and centuries ahead, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually the comparison I give is, okay, imagine Columbus discovers the new world, the Caribbean, and
Right.
when he first comes on the shore, just happens to be a crashed F-22 laying there. Gathers all the pieces up, takes it all back to Spain. How long would it take for them in 1492 to rebuild and have a flyable F-22?
Right.
A long time.
A long
There's
time.
technologies they couldn't even imagine back then. Much
Right.
like it would be for us in 1947 if we discovered, some craft capable of
With luck,
interstellar
you can
flight.
pick apart one or two of those technologies and make a facsimile of them, not duplicate it, but
Right.
enough to start down the road of that
Yes.
First, you have to
technology.
figure out what the heck the technology was to begin with, let alone before you could figure out a way to replicate it.
Well,
Right.
half the and this is something, and it's true. Half the battle of building something is knowing that it's possible.
Yep.
So if I see the Chinese flying something that is way far in advance of what I think they should have, it shouldn't take too long for us to duplicate it because we now know it's possible.
Right.
Well,
See,
but
I mean, that
usually it's the reverse, but you know what I'm saying.
That reminds
They see
me-
us build something and then copy it.
Oh yeah. That reminds me. I've mentioned it many times. The Expeditionary Force book series. It's a fun series, especially audio. But this AI, that's working with the humans, they're trying to get him to share tech, because he's like super advanced, just whatever. But he said, he gave engineers the design to the doorknobs, and he said, once you figure that out, come talk to me because you'll never figure it out. It'll take centuries for you to figure out the doorknobs on these ships, and that's what it sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
It
That's
is
technology.
and it goes back to Bob Lazar, saying we don't have the technology to start understanding the technology is what you're saying. Enzo.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just, and to me, that makes sense because if they're advanced so far, so many centuries ahead of us, we have to get our technology up to where we can even begin to understand it.
Yeah, like
Even
I
more
said,
simply,
at best,
we
can
don't know
pick-
what we don't know.
At the best, we
Exactly.
can pick apart one or two, and make a primitive one. It'd be like
Right.
Somebody in the 1000s finding a modern rifle. Okay, they can figure out how it works because it's a machine, but duplicating it, no, they
Right.
would not be able to duplicate it. At best, they'd be able to create a musket.
Right.
Yeah. What was it? Lazar was saying about element 115 or something like that. We didn't even have that element on our periodic table at the time.
No.
Now we
did
do.
not.
And now we do. Now we have to figure out how to refine it for fuel or whatever, because we don't even the element that we have found, or I think they created it at CERN, didn't they? I think.
There was actually a Russian outfit that developed it. It was an isotope, so it lasted a fraction of a second, but technically it was there, but highly
Right.
unstable.
But I mean, now we have to figure out how to get it stabilized to get the isotopes to where we can build this. So to me, that gave validation to his story.
Mhm.
Can I say 100% that he's lying or not lying? You know, I can't either way. I tend to believe him. But if that technology is real, I think maybe this could have been tied in with the Secret Space Force. Somebody would have to know, like going back to what you were talking about earlier, Pam, you know, is somebody was helping to create that, the ships. You know, so I don't know. I mean, I'm on the fence with it, I guess.
Or what if it's so simple that a less technological civilization actually stumbled across it accidentally, and we're actually got the superior technology, we just didn't know the principle to make all this stuff work.
Or their technology was just something that we wouldn't truly consider technology because it's not like ours. And they went about it in a way that we couldn't even fathom and came up with some far superior things. Very possible. Who knows? About as possible as anything else.
I love playing the what if game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can do that all day long. Yeah. Instead of taking a nuts and bolts approach to it, they just designed new animals that can do the same thing, kind of a thing. That's where we go back to our living ship
that's
idea.
Actually a popular idea in science fiction.
Yeah.
You can bioengineer whatever you want. And why not? We're trying.
Yeah. Some theories suggest we've succeeded.
I mean, I've been called
some theories say that we're the result.
This is true.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So it's a fascinating subject. I really encourage everybody to look into it because if nothing else, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
But there's some of the things that's got the ring of truth to it that just makes you think. I mean, it's kind of like when we were talking about the whole thing with the time travel and the portals and stuff. You know, what if Tesla was onto something, and what if there's something to that?
There's probably more truth into it than what we even begin.
I'm really scared to find out. Actually, I mean,
I think Tesla was onto a bunch of things.
He was.
I really do.
You know, he was, just for the pure fact that they took everything that he was working on and got rid of it immediately.
Oh,
upon his
could you
death.
not swipe that up?
Yeah. Most of that has turned up, by the way, and is residing in the Tesla Museum in his home country. However, there's still 10 boxes missing.
Yeah. That's the good stuff there.
That would be the good stuff, yes.
Yeah.
That would be fun to do.
I don't know if we've got much more to. I mean, we could
certainly go down all the different avenues and
go down all the rabbit
12 hours
in the morning. We go down all the rabbit holes.
Yeah. There's a lot, but like you said, Mark, I would highly suggest anybody, if your interest is piqued, go look it up. I mean, there's videos out there. The Y-Files on YouTube have an excellent video. I love that channel because
people.
Exactly. My kids love it just for Hecklefish.
But Hecklefish is
awesome,
he's my bro. He's my bro. I want to go hang out with Hecklefish.
But what I like about that channel is it's objective. He tells both sides, and really gives you food for thought. And if he says there's no other evidence to prove or disprove it or whatever, he tells you. He don't try to just make it up on the go. So, and that's what I would like most about that channel.
He's on TikTok too, so if you don't have a lot of time to put towards it, you can get 3-minute hits of it on TikTok.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's how I stumbled across it to begin with.
Yep, it's fun, and it's fun going down these little rabbit holes and stuff that we go down and exploring the different ideas and subjects that we look at, and then it's weird, like we touched on how the connections are almost uncanny.
Mhm.
That's what
but
gives them. In my mind, that's what makes them at least plausible in some respect, because they start clicking with other things.
Yeah.
And it gets too complicated too fast for me to think that everything is not right.
Okay, so we don't only need a clubhouse. We need one with separate huge rooms that we can put maps all over and run
Strings.
our string everywhere. Yes. They'll find us in like 10 years and we'll all just be little bubbles that look like we're in spider webs.
Yep.
Stuck.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing that makes a lot of these kind of credible, besides the fact that we keep finding all of these like notions that kind of travel through all these different conspiracies and these theories and stuff like that. It's just the mass amount of information behind them.
Yes.
Some of these topics, like, you would think that if it was something just wholly made up and just contrived through some idiot's, mind or whatever, that there wouldn't be such a mass amount of information behind it.
Right.
Good
See,
point.
and I don't think Gary McKinnon's ever been debunked. I mean,
No,
there's denial.
Absolutely, there's denial, but nobody's ever, said, "Oh, there's no way that can be."
But in my mind, to really debunk somebody, you have to have proof to the alternate. You have to have that opposite of that argument.
Right.
So,
I guess part of that goes along with they're like, well, did he get copies of this stuff, or is there a printout of any of this stuff? Well, no. Well, how do we know it's true? Because the U.S. government wants to extradite him from the UK.
They want to bury him under the jail. That's the proof right there.
Right. I mean, if you look at Edward Snowden, the same story. So,
yeah. How do we know it's true? Because the government wants him gone.
Yep.
They were unable to poo-poo his name, and but
yeah. Why would they bother if it was not true and they thought he was just some nutter? Why would they even?
Exactly.
They would pull out the old tinfoil hat argument and just laugh. Ha 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 ha! We don't care. You just make this up. No, we're taking this very seriously. We're going to cross.
Oh no!
I love this right here.
I need
right
one
here.
of those.
I know a screenshot. I'm gonna go back and grab.
Tinfoil.
Post for it.
I like it.
It's very nice, sir. Very nice.
Very distinguished.
Yeah.
Yes,
when they try to put you under the jail, you're on to something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it may not have been the actual secret space force, but
it was
something. There was something there.
Something they did not want anybody to look any farther into.
I know, as I recall his story about when he actually found it, he wasn't on there that long before he did get cut off, as I recall how that particular part of the story goes.
But when he found the image, somebody plugged him from the network.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I guess, because I'd be curious about like some of the names. Like he said he looked up some of the ships and they weren't related to anything in the inventory. I'm kind of curious about some of those names too, is if they correlate back to actual people and all of that, to find, were they in the military, or were they, something that you could track down. Well, today you could probably track them down fairly easily. I don't know about back when that happened, but
they were
one of those things.
Windows 95 back then. I don't think.
Yeah, it was, and that's why it was so easy for him to hack into everything. It's his hacking wasn't really that spectacular. It was just their security was just the worst.
Password.
Windows 95 was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Password is password. It's great.
My son is wanting to know if that's modeled from a British infantry helmet.
It is. It's an old Doughboy helmet. It's a plastic one that I got from the Halloween store, and I just put tinfoil on it.
Ah,
Nice. What's up, Gary? This is Gary Voorhees, everybody.
What's up,
Gary.
Gary
buddy?
out there?
hi.
Man, heck, man, I should have talked to you about coming on, but I understand. We're talking Secret Space Force, and we're just kind of talking. And this guy, he got to see things come down out of 80,000 feet, so that's pretty interesting. And
Oh yeah.
but yep, I don't really have a whole lot more this evening. I hope we
I
pique somebody's
really
interest.
don't. I have about exhausted my research,
Yeah.
such as it was.
So I was gonna say, I've blown through all the highlights I had in a little bit of time
Oh,
there.
nice.
I'm afraid to jump into anything because it'll just lead down to another rabbit hole. Be here for hours and hours. So,
Right?
Yeah.
That's the fear. Yes.
It's like,
I've got more
This-
information.
what
up here, but
about?
This is definitely one that I would absolutely love to spend some more time on, to where we could really get some deeper research on, because I think it'd be great. It's
Oh, I do
fascinating.
too.
Yeah, I mean,
I do too. For
there's a
sure.
recent book. I can't remember the fellow's name, but he was a contractor for NASA and actually saw them airbrushing stuff out of the photos on
Yeah.
the moon. So
Yeah, that's
Wow.
a famous story.
that's a pretty good story. I need to get that book and read it. I wouldn't mind doing a show on that, because what's up there that they're airbrushing out? Is it aliens, or is it ours, or is it Russian? What is it?
Well, never mind
Uh-oh.
that. How about all the footage they just reused? They just
Yeah.
reused the film. What the heck
Yep.
did they tape over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gary
Oh,
just
yeah.
posted. He said he knows we have more than one Hubble. Well, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
Oh, the follow up line is
Uh-oh.
there. You go.
Two of them are watching the Earth and instead of space. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Oh, I'm gonna go outside for a minute, guys.
I think I want to borrow your hat, Enzo.
Go.
I think we all need to make hats. Maybe we should do that for next time. We'll have a hat making competition.
I'll go
Who can have
blind
the
them.
coolest foil hat?
From
I don't need tinfoil. I can blind them. Get the turtle wax out. Burn out.
Kind of like the hanger episode.
Oh my gosh, y'all.
Yes.
Hanger episode.
Oh,
Some of the best
Enzo was
weddings.
not privy to the
No.
hanger episode.
I might have a hanger. Hang on a second. Yeah,
We
here's
had
my
an
hanger.
episode on
It was NPCs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
on NPCs. I was trying to think. I'm getting tired. And I found on TikTok for like a number of years ago, there was this stupid little thing that went around that said if you put a hanger on your head, if you were a NPC, your head would automatically turn to the right unwillingly. And that's how you knew. And there's like tons of these videos of these kids putting this hanger on their head going, this is stupid, this will never work, and their head automatically turns and they're like, ah, and they freak out. But I did that at the end of that one. I was like, we should all test to see if we're NPCs or not. So we were all hanging out with hangers on our heads. And then things got absolutely ridiculous from
We
there.
tried
Yeah.
plastic. Metal. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
I had the hanger sitting on my desk for a long time. So we
That's funny.
Yeah.
Mine's still over on the workbench.
Oh my
Did we ever
goodness.
determine if it was plastic or wire hangers?
We tried them both ways. The results were inconclusive.
we'll have to have another.
Yeah, Gary, you're probably right. And you're all NPCs in my delusion.
Well, I mean, I've been called delusional before. Never somebody else's delusion. So is that a promotion?
I didn't know if the hangers were allowed anymore, because when we did a show on crop circles, at the end I told them all that there was a way to find out if there was crop circles near you, and I pulled the hanger back out again, and they didn't much care for that.
I loved it though. I did.
Coolest one. Shame on us.
Talking about delusion real quick. On this podcast I listened to today, this guy talked about how AI, and again, I'm stuck on this AI right now. But this guy was talking about how social media was the start of it. It's our first experience in addiction and all that to AI. And that's how they gathered the information, all that stuff. And what that did, it removed everybody's shared experience. And that's a huge reason as to why people are so divided, because they don't have that conversation anymore. And it removed that experience to what we need. And he was like, AI is a democracy killer because it removes that to people coming together saying, hey, we don't want this. So because people are all in their own little world now, looking at their screen or whatever.
I believe it.
So I thought it was pretty interesting. See, Gary said the only thing hangers are good for are dowsing and breaking into cars. The metal ones, that is.
Yes, you're correct. They are good for that.
Both with those. Yep, for sure.
Done both.
Yep.
Recently too, actually.
Levi said there's no actual way to prove other people you're a conscious being.
I mean, there's people that I know I refuse to believe are actually conscious at all. Not even.
I know one or two that you're talking about. So.
Yeah, when we first had the NPC show, I looked over at Phil and I said,
"Yeah."
Oh,
I absolutely believe. Yes, you threw the big.
Yes, I'll buy that. I'll buy that
too.
$1.
At least one of him is anyway. So, have you guys heard that? Yeah, have you guys heard that? He's cloned. There's a theory out there that there's several, and he's cloned. I mean, it's
and they just did a really shitty job, or
yeah. I mean, there's like
when you work with a broken mold,
differences, and
like every time they made another one, it got dumber and more useless.
But they're talking. I mean, it's a stretch in my opinion, but. Again, I think anything's possible, but there's talk. I mean, pictures taken within hours of each other. The dramatic differences in his appearance. I mean, could it be that he?
Well, there was a theory that he had an actor taking his place for some speeches and stuff.
Weren't they saying this about Hillary Clinton a number of years ago?
They have also.
She was basically a Cylon. There was like 20 of her roaming around doing her bidding.
Oh my God, that is frightening. Beyond
that's
frightening.
silly. Everybody knows Hillary is demonic. That's not a sign.
Gary, I wouldn't doubt that a bit. He said they keep shooting him up with stem cells. I wouldn't doubt that a bit.
I do believe he gets shot of something before he goes on camera. I do believe that.
See, Levi, there's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie about clones. What is that? That's not The Sixth Day, is it? I know what he's talking about.
Twins?
That's a pretty good movie. No,
I don't know, but Muppet Babies has a really good episode where they clone. Serious. I'm serious.
All right.
Clone a sock.
Some serious subjects right there. Muppet Baby.
Hey, I spend my time with a 3-year-old.
I mean, yeah.
I am a Muppet
Ask
Baby.
me anything about VeggieTales.
Yeah. She learned some of her worst phrases off of VeggieTales, which cracks me up. I can't remember what it is, but her mom won't let her watch it anymore, which was hilarious to me because she watches other stuff. But yeah, she can't watch that one anymore.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah,
That's supposed to be one of the good ones.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask what it is that she was saying. I'll find out and let you know because it was funny.
Yes, I do want to know about that.
I've gotten to where
I'll have her in the morning. I'll find out.
I've gotten to where I'm really watching what my kids watch and more so now, I think, than ever, just with all the BS that's on. And
Yeah.
Especially on
The-
YouTube. You got to watch it.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff that parades as children's stuff is not. It's
No,
Yep.
good.
no, there's
Well, on
predators out
YouTube-
there.
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube, I'd have to go back in and look, but if you put it not for children, it really locks your account down to where there's hardly any comments, nothing like that. So a lot of creators are just clicking it so they can have the interaction in the comments and all that. So, but yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I don't have a lot more. I mean,
I really don't either.
I appreciate hanging out and, and shooting the breeze,
Yeah, it's fun.
but
Fascinating subject for sure.
and it
I
is.
do
and
want to. I do want to do the Solarians one of these days, though.
The original lizard people.
Lizard people.
Yeah. Hey, no worries, Gary. I totally get it, dude. He said he did get the okay to come on, by the way. He said he just had a lot of personal stuff happen at the time. Sorry for not making a couple weeks ago. Dude, I had no sweat. Not a huge deal, man. I understand wholly. You explained the situation when we talked on the phone and absolutely get it. We'll catch up some other time and jump on and hang out. So
Absolutely.
yep. But yeah, with all that, if everybody else don't really have anything else going on or anything else to share, I mean, I think we'll call it a show there.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Cool.
Yeah, you guys have a good night.
Nice.
Enzo, thanks for hanging out.
night.
Everybody else.
Yeah,
Thanks
Enzo.
for inviting me on. It's
Come
a
on
lot of fun.
Enzo.
anytime, man. You're always welcome.
Yep, absolutely. Uh-oh, where's the crows coming from?
Uh-oh.
That's my phone.
Oh, gotcha. All right, everybody. We'll catch you next show.
Bye.
Bye.